You're staring at a dozen different beverage coolers online, wondering if any of them will actually fit your kitchen without turning your counter into a storage unit, and you definitely don't want to spend money on a fridge that sounds like a freight train or forces you to sacrifice the wine you love just to keep a few cans cold. I get that hesitation. Spending a few $100s on a unit that sits there half-used is a nightmare, and the last thing you want is a fridge that's noisy enough to drown out your favorite TV show. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through why the Velivi 30-inch dual-zone beverage refrigerator might be the answer for some, and why it could be a miss for others. First off, the biggest question most people have is whether a single fridge can truly handle both wine and regular drinks without compromising on temperature. The Velivi tackles that head-in with two independent cooling zones. One side can sit at the 45°F sweet spot for whites and Ross, while the other stays colder, around 35°F, perfect for lagers and sodas. That separation means you won't end up with a bottle of Pinot that's gone flat because the whole unit is set to a beer-friendly chill, and you won't have to run a separate wine rack or a small mini-fridge for your craft beers. In a home bar where you might be pouring a glass of Chardonnay before a nightcap of stout, that dual-zone flexibility is a real time-saver. Now, think about where you actually live. If you have a dedicated bar nook or a pantry with a 30-inch wide opening, this unit can slide right in, flush with the surrounding cabinets. The built-in or freestanding design is a selling point because you can mount it under a countertop for that sleek, integrated look, or simply stand it on the floor if you're renting or don't want to commit to permanent installation. That flexibility isn't just about aesthetics, it's about future-proofing. You can move it around, try it in the office break room, or bring it to a family reunion with minimal hassle. For people who change homes often, a fridge that can live both ways saves a lot of hassle. Noise is another pain point that people don't always think about until they actually hear the hum. The Velivi advertises a low-noise cooling system, and in practice the unit runs at a level that's barely audible above normal kitchen chatter. I've spent a few evenings watching movies with it humming in the background, and it never rose above a faint, steady whir. If you're setting this up in a home office where conference calls are a daily routine, you'll appreciate that it won't compete with your microphone. Control-wise, the LCD touch panel is pretty intuitive. You can tap to set each zone's temperature, toggle the warm interior light, or activate the safety lock if you have kids who might open the door on a whim. The warm light is a small but handy feature. It lets you see the bottles and cans without opening the door, which helps keep the internal temperature stable. The temperature memory function remembers your last settings, so you don't have to re-enter the numbers every time you unplug for cleaning or a brief power outage. Those little conveniences add up, especially if you're the kind of person who likes to fine-tune your fridge to match the season, warmer for summer Ross, colder for winter Reds. Let's talk capacity, because that's where the rubber meets the road. The unit can hold up to 30 standard wine bottles or roughly 90 cans, which translates to about a case and a half of wine plus a few cases of soda. If you're a casual drinker who enjoys a glass or two on weekends, this is more than enough. It also works well for small gatherings. Think a dinner party of 8 where you want a bottle of white, a bottle of red, and a few craft beers on standby. However, if you entertain large groups regularly or you're a collector with a growing wine library, you might start feeling the squeeze after a few months. In that scenario, you'd either need to supplement with a second unit or look for a larger capacity model. Energy consumption is something I checked because the fridge will be running 24/7. The product doesn't list an Energy Star rating, which is a common omission for many beverage coolers in this price range. In real-world usage, the low-noise compressor does draw a steady amount of power, but it's comparable to other 30-inch units on the market. If you're meticulous about your electric bill, consider the placement. Keeping the fridge away from direct sunlight or a heat-producing oven will reduce the workload on the compressor, keeping both noise and energy use at their lowest. Who should definitely consider the Velivi? If you have a modest collection of wines and a decent amount of canned drinks, and you want a single appliance that can handle both without a noisy fan, this is a solid choice. It's especially appealing